MC Hammer isn't the guy you want to cross, and JayZ learned that lesson the hard way.
That goddamn MC Hammer, very serious about beef. Y'all laugh and y'all joke about Hammer. No. It was deep with and he used to what anybody who talks come to the Bay Area, they was in for it.
Sure, Hammer's flashy style and upbeat music might have made him seem like the friendly, dance-happy personality with the parachute pants and endless energy, but it fooled a lot of people, especially in the industry. What many did not know was beneath all that was a man who doesn't play when it comes to respect. Honestly, it's no secret that Hammer's street cred runs deeper than heavyweights like Suge Knight, 50 Cent, or Diddy. Each of them has, at some point, hinted at just how dangerous Hammer really is.
Because he didn't fit the stereotype.
But MC Hammer came from the hood.
And was one of the most legit
and he was
street in the game.
Hammer put a hit out on him, and they had problems in LA.
Hammer was not to be with.
Apparently, JayZ missed that memo, and Hammer, in his known fashion, did not hesitate to show him who still ran the streets. It all kicked off back in 2010 when JayZ hopped on Kanye's track So Appalled. In a verse, JayZ took what felt like a direct shot at Hammer, bringing up his financial struggles in the 90s. He rapped, "Hammer went broke, so you know I'm more focused. I lost 30 mil, so I spent another 30 slash. 'Cause unlike Hammer, 30 million can't hurt me." Ouch. It was the kind of line that made everyone pause, because if there's one thing you don't do, it's drag someone's name through the mud over their past like that, especially when that someone is MC Hammer. Hammer didn't just take offense, he went all in. First, he vented on Twitter, accusing JayZ of selling his soul, a rumor that's been floating around for ages but hit differently coming from Hammer. But he didn't stop there. He turned up the heat with a diss track and an accompanying video called Better Run Run.
So cold, I can see it in his eye, the boy sold his soul. Devil said, I'ma give you the world.
Trust, this wasn't your average response. The video featured a JayZ lookalike being hunted through a forest by a devil-like figure, only to have Hammer himself show up at the end. In a dramatic twist, Hammer symbolically baptizes the JayZ character by a lake, reclaiming the narrative with some serious flair. This wasn't just a diss, it was a theatrical statement. Suddenly, the tables turned and JayZ, one of the most untouchable figures in hip-hop, found himself on the defensive. In an interview not long after, JayZ tried to smooth things over, claiming Hammer might have misunderstood the lyric.
I said really great things about him. I said but you know, whatever it is what it is. He took it the wrong way. I didn't know it wasn't on the table for discussion. I just was, and I didn't know I said anything wrong.
He even spoke about the respect he had for Hammer, citing moments from his book Decoded as evidence. But the tension was palpable, and Jay's tone suggested that maybe, even if just for a moment, he realized Hammer wasn't someone you come at lightly. Now, what's wild is that Hammer wasn't exactly known for a tough guy image back in his prime. His flashy outfits, killer dance moves, and mainstream hits had him pegged as a pop-friendly rapper, not the gritty, street-hardened type. But even then, he was no pushover. In fact, when he shifted gears in 1994 with his album The Funky Headhunter, trying to lean into a more aggressive style, fans and critics didn't know what to make of it.
He's not even doing the fake rap that he do. He got his homeboy screaming all his vocals and he's just jumping around, you know what I'm saying? So, okay.
Some thought he was trying too hard to reinvent himself, but those who knew Hammer personally understood that the man behind the music, Stanley Burrell, wasn't one to be underestimated. Fans have long rallied behind Hammer, not just for his talent, but for his authenticity and resilience. One Bay Area fan gushed, "As a Bay Area native, I was a diehard Hammer fan. He brought excitement, showmanship, and mainstream diversity to hip-hop at a time when it was extremely taboo. I appreciate him for going against the grain in spite of the backlash. Thanks for the great video. He was a hip-hop superhero to me." And it wasn't just fans who recognized this side of him. Stories from other rappers like Redman highlight that Hammer had a street edge that didn't get much spotlight but was very real. Behind the bright smile and crowd-pleasing moves was a man who commanded respect, and JayZ, for all his swagger, seemed to learn that the hard way. By 1992, MC Hammer wasn't just a star. He was the star of hip-hop, dominating the charts in a way no one else had. His 1990 album, Please Hammer Don't Hurt Him, sold a staggering 22 million copies, and his 1991 follow-up, Too Legit to Quit, added another 5 million to the tally. But as much as his mainstream success brought him fame, it also made him a target. Hardcore hip-hop purists weren't shy about calling him out, accusing him of selling out for pop stardom. Among his critics was Redman, who took a particularly sharp jab at Hammer with the Funky Uncles skit from his debut album, What? The Album. In the skit, Redman didn't hold back, saying, "He ain't shitty. Hammer ain't doing nothing for us. He ain't shitty. You ain't shitty. His mama ain't shitty. His daddy ain't shitty. Ain't nobody shish." That kind of diss didn't fly under Hammer's radar. Known for his easygoing image on stage but fierce loyalty off it, he wasn't about to let the disrespect slide. Years later, Redman shared just how serious Hammer was about beef, recounting the moment Hammer confronted him in person. "That goddamn MC Hammer, very serious about beef. Y'all muefas laugh and y'all joke about Hammer? No, 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 no. That N was deep with N. Anybody who talked come to the Bay Area, they was in for it. Cause we seen it, I seen it, and he was very serious about beef. Oh, you gon' talk about my dancing pants, I'll see you." And he would whoop a N out. Redman recalled the pivotal encounter with Hammer on the final episode of Yo MTV Raps in 1994. Hammer approached him, his tone firm but composed, and delivered a clear message. "That ninja came up to me on Yo MTV Raps on the last episode they had," said Red. "That ninja approached me. He was like, 'Red, I'ma tell you something. You young, but I don't allow nobody talking about my mama. You understand me?" Redman didn't hesitate. "Yes, sir," he replied, fully aware of the weight behind Hammer's words. But that wasn't Redman's first brush with Hammer's loyalty to his name. He shared a backstory about being in the Bay Area with EPMD and feeling the heat firsthand. "We was already in Oakland with EPMD, and we damn near had to bounce up out of there for that, cause they had ninjas back here, back here, back here, pointing in different directions. We had to get the f up out of here. They wasn't playing. We was almost boxed in." The Bay Area wasn't just Hammer's home. It was his stronghold, and disrespect didn't go unnoticed or unaddressed. Despite the intensity of their MTV encounter, Hammer showed a level of respect for Redman's artistry. He shook my hand. He was like, "You a youngin', I like what you do, but you just know I don't play nobody talking about my mama." Redman, humbled, played peacemaker. "Ninjas think Hammer's a sucker. Hammer don't f***ing play. Hammer don't play, he dances, and he's very athletic, and he'll whoop a ninja's ah." Red also noted how conciliatory he was at the Yo MTV Raps encounter, saying his response when Hammer expressed his dissatisfaction about Red's words about his mother was, "Yo, Hammer man, you was big. Look man, I ain't got no beef with you my dude. You a OG, I'm a young cat." But Hammer's dominance in the early 90s wasn't without competition or drama. Oakland's hip-hop scene was on fire, with acts like Digital Underground, Too Short, and Hammer himself all achieving platinum success between 1990 and 1991. Despite their shared hometown roots, there was tension, particularly between Hammer and Too Short.
I was in the streets before Hammer, as far as like the music and stuff.
Yeah.
I was making records before Hammer.
Too Short later admitted that during the late 80s and early 90s, he used some of his tracks to diss Hammer, frustrated by the way Hammer seemed to get more media love. During an interview with Questlove on Questlove Supreme, Too Short reflected on Oakland's hip-hop scene and his feelings toward Hammer. He spoke about their overlapping social circles, Hammer's ties to the Oakland Athletics, and the neighborhood hustlers who supported both artists. "We ran in the same circles, but I didn't even know his real name back then," Too Short recalled. While he acknowledged Hammer's undeniable talent and local popularity, the rivalry was clear, fueled by competition for the spotlight in a rapidly growing industry. Too Short had quite a colorful perspective on MC Hammer back in the day. He reminisced about how Hammer and a guy named Ace were a duo to watch at the clubs, with their synchronized dance moves drawing crowds like moths to a flame. They had this energy, this rhythm that made them local legends, and everyone thought of them as dancers first. Too Short admitted he didn't even know Hammer was into rapping until he dropped "Let's Get It Started." Now here's where the tension started brewing. Short recounted a moment when he ran into Hammer, who was rolling deep with 4 bodyguards and an entourage of about 20 people. Someone nearby asked, "Who's that guy?" Feeling a little smug and confident in his own reputation, Short shrugged it off and said he didn't know or care who Hammer was. To him, Hammer was just some guy who made a name as a dancer, not a rapper. It wasn't until someone connected the dots that Short realized he'd been brushing off someone who was on the verge of blowing up in the rap game, and blow up Hammer did. But his flashy entrance into rap, complete with bodyguards and a larger-than-life entourage, didn't sit well with Short, who prided himself on keeping things real and rooted in the music. Short couldn't help but throw a little shade, saying he became more famous for acting famous, and then the music came with it at the same time. He walked in the door with 4 bodyguards and an entourage, and his first single was just coming out. Having him as an example, I'm like, I'm not doing that. In fact, Short didn't just think it, he rapped it. On Short But Funky, he fired shots with lines like, "You never catch me on the mic rapping a dance tune. I like it kinda mellow with the sound of the bass boom. The style is mine, I've been doing it for 10. You might say it's simple, but I'm making my ends. See, I don't trip on a punk cause I jack him. Too short plus the cuss words equals platinum." Short didn't shy away from admitting that Hammer was often in his lyrical crosshairs. "I was doing lines at Hammer. We all were. I had a lot of songs at Hammer and Hammer references." He continues, "So I'm saying she like that in the record. We're down the streets from each other and talking lil sh about each other to our mutual homies. There'd never be any friction, cause they thugs and we're thugs, and we all know each other. But Hammer do shit like sit on the effing couch with Arsenio Hall and say, 'Where are you from Hammer?' Things escalated when Short and others like LL Cool J and Third Bass started getting more direct with their disses.
People used to like test them a little bit, see if he was a dancing Hammer. I've heard people tell stories like they caught the wrath of MC Hammer ain't no punk.
That's when Hammer's older brother Louis Burl stepped in to shut it down. Louis reminded Short and his crew that Hammer's camp had just come off a grueling tour that included a tragic loss of life, saying, "Bruh, we are not coming home to this BS, says we're not." That sobering reality check was all it took to squash the beef before it spiraled out of control. From there, what began as a rivalry turned into an unlikely friendship.
I think that was probably where our whole little unwritten feud, our unadvertised feud kind of just went away.
The tension melted away, replaced by mutual respect, and years later, the two Bay Area icons even teamed up on the team's remix of It's Getting Hot. It's wild to think how they went from trading shots to making music together, proving that in hip-hop, even the fiercest battles can lead to lasting bonds. But let's be real. Hammer's story isn't just about rivalries, it's also about relentless hustle, pure grit, and defying the odds every step of the way. To really get it, you've got to go back to East Oakland, where life wasn't easy. Hammer grew up in a tough neighborhood with little to his name, especially after his parents split and his mom took on the heavy load of raising him and his siblings alone. The streets could have easily pulled him in, but Hammer had something stronger driving him, a promise to his mom that he wouldn't let her down. Even as a kid, Hammer's grind was next level.
Fame is a double-edged sword, and very few people can really deal with fame. If you were given a choice between fame and fortune, take the fortune.
While other kids were just being kids, he was out at Oakland A's games flipping tickets and turning parking lots into impromptu dance stages with his boombox, and people noticed. One of those people was Charles Finley, the A's owner.
Pants came about in 1978 during the disco era. In my city, one of the hot things was suits from the 40s and 50s.
Who saw Hammer's potential and gave him a job as a clubhouse assistant at just 9 years old. Hammer soaked up everything from that experience, from discipline to swagger, learning how to carry himself like a pro. By the time he was a teenager, he'd risen to a vice president position in the organization.
As the assistant to the owner of the team, whose name was Charles O. Finley, and I was made the youngest executive vice president in America. I went on ABC's Kids Are People Too when I was 16. I had been there already for about 4 years.
Talk about a glow up. And then came the nickname that would follow him for life. Reggie Jackson, one of the A's stars, started calling him Hammer because of his resemblance to Hank Aaron, aka the Hammer.
As I became a musician known as MC Hammer, at the time, Reggie Jackson had named me Hammer.
That name stuck, becoming more than a nickname. It became part of who he was, setting the stage for his future as an entertainer. When Hammer transitioned from the A's clubhouse to the rap game, he brought that same energy and showmanship. His debut, Let's Get It Started, wasn't just music, it was a full-blown performance. Hammer didn't want to blend into hip-hop's underground scene. He wanted to stand out and bring something bigger, something people couldn't ignore. Sure, his polished mainstream vibe clashed with the gritty authenticity that some thought defined the genre. But Hammer didn't flinch. He doubled down on his vision, proving his success was about hard work, not just image. After high school, Hammer gave college a try, but it wasn't long before he realized that traditional path wasn't for him. Looking for a new direction, he joined the Navy and served for a few years, earning an honorable discharge. Even then, his creative spark didn't fade. Hammer used his downtime in the barracks to work on music demos with his roommate. It was a small but powerful sign of the drive that would carry him to the top of the charts. Hammer's journey, from the streets of East Oakland to military service, from flipping tickets to flipping the rap world on its head, was all about resilience. He faced challenges and critics head-on, proving his story was more than catchy hooks and viral dance moves. It was about heart, hustle, and an unshakable belief in his ability to succeed, no matter what the odds. After his time in the Navy, Hammer explored a different kind of stage by joining a gospel hip-hop group called the Holy Ghost Boys. This phase was crucial. It combined his deep-rooted spirituality with his love for performance, adding another layer to his already multifaceted identity. Hammer wasn't just about beats and rhymes, he was about connecting with people on a deeper level, a theme that would show up in his later music. When his military chapter ended, Hammer decided it was time to bet big on his dream. But dreams need funding, and here's where his story takes an interesting turn. Hammer reached out to two former Oakland A's players who believed in his vision and lent him the money to kickstart his career. Armed with this financial boost, Hammer didn't just record music, he built a business. He launched his own label, Busted Productions, which later evolved into Bustin' Records. Imagine that, a young man fresh out of the Navy not only chasing his music dreams but also taking on the role of CEO. Hammer was laying the groundwork for something way bigger than himself.
We're gonna set it up where I want to battle you, and I want to get the glove. The glove would be like the prize.
Right, like the passing of the torch, maybe?
Well, you know.
Something like that.
He officially adopted the name MC Hammer, standing for Master of Ceremonies, and set out to make a name for himself. His first major move, independently releasing his debut album, Feel My Power, in 1987. With no big label backing him, Hammer hustled hard and it paid off. He managed to sell over 60,000 copies of the album on his own. That kind of grassroots success was unheard of at the time, and it showcased his incredible work ethic and knack for connecting with audiences. But the real turning point came in 1988 at an Oakland nightclub. Hammer was doing what he did best, commanding the stage with his infectious energy and undeniable talent, when a record executive in the crowd took notice. Blown away by Hammer's performance, the exec made a life-changing offer, a multi-album deal with Capitol Records. It was the kind of break that every artist dreams about, and Hammer seized it with both hands. That deal was the spark that ignited MC Hammer's meteoric rise. From the humble beginnings of recording demos in a Navy barracks to creating his own label and catching the eye of a major record company, Hammer's story is one of resilience, ambition, and unrelenting hustle. He didn't just step into the music industry. He built a path, walked it, and then turned it into a highway for others to follow. Hammer's journey is proof that with determination, faith, and a little help along the way, you can turn even the wildest dreams into reality.